On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, the NYPD gun licensing scandal. The secondhand showcase is costing me a fortune. Yeti and the NRA controversy. And I did not know Waffle House was a gun-free zone. Oops.
Good morning, everybody. This is Marky and Freeze, and this is episode 94 of the John1911 Podcast. How was your night, Freeze?
Pretty good.
So, I'm drinking some coffee. I'm actually driving. I'm heading to a meeting.
I'm drinking coffee as well.
Yeah, the elixir of America. So we were, you know what? We're just going to pick up. We were just talking a minute ago, and I was like, dude, we got to get on Bob. So we're going to talk about stuff kind of out of order, because this is what we're talking about. Buddy Rose is back in the news. and you were like, what the hell's that? What's he in the news for? So I guess I'll lay the... Go ahead.
So what has he done now?
Well, okay. Before I do all that, do you remember when we were tactical t-shirts and I posted some stuff? I've occasionally posted stuff about athletes that was not positive, and we would get these horrendous furball blowbacks on them. Do you remember any of those?
Oh man, people love their sports.
Oh God, I mean, it becomes insane. And like the idea of like when somebody's cheating, and look, Pete Rose is basically local to us. He's local to you, and we're coming from this from different sides, because I refresh my memory, Freeze. I mean, your family, you've had Pete either through reputation or through like living in Cincinnati or all this stuff.
Actually,
I know Pete Rose. I know his bookie. I know his bookie and his bookie's wife.
I mean, I'm not friends with Pete Rose, but I mean, he had friends that lived down the street from me growing up. I talked to Pete Rose's wife, his, I guess, first wife, Carolyn, and his Pete Jr., who basically, truthfully, is a jackass. But I mean,
here it comes.
I grew up with him.
Yeah, so and we have a lot of we literally have people listen from all around the world. So let me set some of this up to kind of give people some context. Okay, in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Reds, Pete Rose. There was a time when the Reds were kind of a really big deal sports team, and Pete Rose was the crown jewel in that entire operation. And he was a guy who was probably, like, in fairness to Pete Rose, I've heard people smarter than me that know more about sports than me say it like this. He wasn't the most talented baseball player, but what he lacked for in talent, he made up for in hard work and hustle. That's why they always called him Charlie Hustle.
Look,
and that was very you got to respect that.
Pete Rose arguably is one of the best baseball players to ever play the game. I'm not saying he's the greatest baseball player to play the game, but arguably, if you look at his record and his achievements, he's definitely, without a doubt, one of the top 5 greatest baseball players of all time. And he's a hell of a nice guy.
Okay. Well, okay. Hold on. So let's roll it in a little bit. So, okay. So when you say he's probably one of the best baseball players, I will take that at face value. I'm sure he is, but I will introduce the idea to someone who's maybe not a baseball person or not a sports person like myself. I would say it like this: in the world of as far as grades in school, there were people that got the easy A, then people that got the hard A. There are people that are probably better than Pete Rose. They had more talent, but they didn't try half as hard, because, you know what I mean? Where Pete Rose, what he lacked, he was a hard A guy. He earned his A through hard work, not because it was he was just innately good at it.
Yeah, well,
but the problem
that was one of the enjoyable things about watching him play baseball growing up, because he never, like a lot of these baseball players that are considered great baseball players, they go out there and they play the game and they're naturally talented and they do a good job. But Pete Rose actually gave 110% effort every time he played. And that's exciting.
It is exciting. And, so we've laid the groundwork for the non-Cincinnati, non-Reds, non-baseball person to what Pete Rose means to the people of, say, like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Well, when Pete Rose was banned from baseball for life. And there's a lot of people that have done a lot of bad stuff in sports and in baseball that have not been banned for life. And the reason Pete Rose was banned from baseball was because he had a huge gambling problem, and he was gambling on baseball and gambling on the Reds. And baseball figured this out. They did this huge investigation. It was a nightmare because he was like, imagine he's like Tom Brady. I mean, he's that big at the time, was like a big deal. And he had become a player manager. And they were like, oh my God, this is out of control. They approached Pete Rose. They had him dead to rights. They brought him into a meeting and they're like, dude, here's what we're going to do. We're going to ban you from baseball. You're going to take your ban. You're going to be banned for a year. And then we'll reinstate you. But you got to walk out right now at the press conference, and you got to fess up to everything. And this is how we can get through this. But, we're going to have to do it this way. And he said, okay. And then he walked out to the press conference, and in front of Bart Giamatti, he lied to the media, he lied to the American people, and he lied to the Reds fans. And he said he never bet on baseball, and this is all crap. And Bart Giamatti subsequently ended up, they even attributed it's so stressed out, the baseball commissioner, he died a short time later. So now we've said all this. Now let me lay some what I know. I know Pete Rose's bookie. I know his bookie. I know his wife. I know everything. And a lot of people in Cincinnati for a long time, it became this kind of like this running, running battle. It was Pete Rose he didn't have a gambling problem. And then it was Pete Rose never bet on baseball. And then it was, they kept, over time, more evidence would come out. And then it was Pete Rose, well, he never bet on, then they said, well, he never bet on the Reds. And then it was, well, he never bet against the Reds. And it finally got to a point after like 20 years or whatever, however long all this went on, that Pete Rose finally admitted, he was like, I bet on baseball. And, this has been such a big, long drama for a lot of people that were Reds fans, because they hung their hat on their hero. You want to believe you. It's like imagine General Mattis coming out and telling you something. You're like, well, fuck, if it's Mattis fucking says it, it's fucking true. Well, there's a lot of Reds fans. If goddamn Pete Rose says something, it's true. And that caused a lot of angst. And the reason this is all coming up today is old Pete's back in the news. TMZ's done a big expose. You just mentioned his wife, Carol, right?
Carolyn.
So I don't know who she is.
I think that was his first wife.
Okay, well, here's the thing. The news is reporting, so they're all saying that I guess Carolyn is either going to file a lawsuit or file a complaint. She's apparently still married to Pete.
No, I think you were talking about a different wife.
Now, hold on. Now, wait. You haven't seen the story. Apparently, everybody thinks they're divorced. She's still married to Pete. She's been married and claiming they got divorced like so many years ago, but they're still married. And that she's saying that he he basically won't break up all this stuff, all these assets, and execute on this. And she says that he makes $1 million a year doing baseball signings. Basically, I've even got one of his baseballs that says, "I'm sorry, I bet on baseball." He makes $1 million a year doing that, and he blows all of it on gambling to this day. And it's apparently there's a lot of drama going on with Pete Rose, and that guy is in the fucking news again. And I just wanted to, you're kind of getting this cold, but I know that you know more about the Rose family than I do on a personal level.
Well,
like, wasn't there like a bar you used to go to or something?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that? Explain that to me.
Well, when we were kids, there was a ball field down the street from us. It's still there today. A lot of the local grade schools and that play baseball there. And we used to play there. That's where we played, ball when we were growing up. And the house next door to the field were family friends of the Roses. And, and that's where we used to, hell, he'd come out and throw ball with us. And then when his son got older, he started playing ball with us. But he was a whiny little punk and, had to have his way. So it was a drag to play with him. But yeah.
We might get a cease and desist on this podcast.
What?
Right now, my mind is turning. Is Pete Rose Jr. a public figure or not? Is Pete Rose Jr. a public figure or not?
Whatever. I'm saying no, but
you're speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but look, I'm sorry, TMZ reporting Pete Rose still gambles is not news. I mean, come on.
There are people in Cincinnati that still believe that Pete Rose is innocent.
Yeah, I know. I think he's innocent too.
You think who's innocent?
There's still people that think OJ's innocent too. So,
yeah. It got to the point they kept saying, show us more. You're full of shit. This is a railroad job. And they literally got to the point. It took them 20 years to admit it, but they came out with the stubs with Pete Rose's initials and signatures, and I think maybe even fingerprints on them, some of his gambling stubs on baseball. And it's just drug everybody through the mud for a long time. And, I like Pete Rose. I like the Pete Rose story. And I think, why would we want to tell this to our listeners? What does this have to do with John 1911 or guns or whatever? And I think what a lot of this, at least for me, it's a good story. It's kind of a morality play. It's a good story to tell people when you understand it doesn't matter how big you are and how bad you are. And, don't you know who I am? And, I can do whatever I want. And you start really believing your own press. And it's a shame because, again, Pete Rose wasn't a guy, and I'm throwing the Pete Rose fans a bone here because I'm not the biggest fan of Pete Rose, but I respect it. Pete Rose as a guy wasn't like this baseball player who, was naturally had more talent in his pinky finger than anybody else had in their whole body, and he only worked half the time because he was too busy fucking girls. And you know what I'm saying? There's all these kids in sports, all these athletes that they're fantastic. They're fantastic athletes, but they're such jack-offs that they never meet their full potential. Pete is an example of a guy who had, a decent amount of potential and literally used it to get somewhere. And then that same drive in some weird way may have ruined him.
I don't know. Who knows? I'm not a gambler. Gambling doesn't interest me, so I don't know what spurs a gambler on to basically wreck his life over gambling. I don't know. I guess it's like being a drug addict.
Yeah, it's not the money, it's the chase, it's the thrill. And see, what a lot of people don't understand, when you go into baseball, when you go into every baseball, you have to understand the history of baseball. In 1919, incidentally, involving the Cincinnati Reds, but they were on the opposite side of it. In 1919, there was something called the Black Sox scandal. And what happened was a bunch of gamblers had paid off a bunch of the Chicago White Sox, including a guy named Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was this superstar stud baseball player. And they had convinced them to they were favored to win, and they had paid these guys off to throw the game. And what had happened, this became such a huge scandal. Shoeless Joe Jackson, all these guys got banned for life. And, Shoeless Joe even supposedly came out and said that, I don't know, like maybe he didn't do it or he took the money or gave the money back. There was some argument as to maybe he should be allowed back in, but he never was. But ever since then, in 1919, they created the baseball commissioner position as it exists today. He is a dictator, he or she in the future. This person has unlimited power. There's a bargaining agreement with the players union and all this other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you thumb your nose at the commissioner of baseball, you are done. He can do whatever he wants for the integrity of the game. And every dugout in baseball since 1919 over the entrance says no gambling. Yeah, that's the one thing, because if baseball is so stat driven that if the integrity of the stats can't be maintained, the integrity of the game is destroyed. It destroys baseball. And what people that supported Pete Rose never understood was, even if Pete didn't bet on the Reds, which turns out he did, but even if he didn't, what ends up happening is the bookies watch Pete. And so if Pete decides, if he's the manager of the Reds and he decides not to bet on his own team on game 87, all the other bookies can be like, whoa, we better change the odds because Pete's not even putting his own money down on his own team. And that even skews everything. And a lot of people that are the Reds fans never understood how business and money and corruption works. And I think that's a good lesson for people, regardless of whether you're a baseball fan or a John 1911 fan or a gun fan or an American fan. You got to understand how pervasive corruption works. And I think the Pete Rose story, whenever it comes up, I love telling that story about Pete Rose.
Okay.
Speaking of pervasive corruption, the New York Police Department, did you hear about what's going on up there with their gun licensing operation? The New York Police Department, did you hear what's going on with their gun licensing operation?
No, I did not hear about that story. I mean, surprisingly enough, that one slipped by me.
So apparently it's coming out that, contrary to popular opinion, you can get a gun in New York, and you just have to kind of know somebody and jump through the hoops. Well, at the end of the day, if you do get a gun, there has to be an organization that actually administers this. So I don't know what they actually call it at NYPD, but we're going to call it the gun licensing, gun registration group for carrying a gun. You can get a permit for a pistol and to carry it. Well, a retired New York police officer's come out, and he is saying that entire operation was a bribery and kickback scheme for all the officers that worked in it. And it's just like, yep, of course it is.
Sure it is.
Because it's a big Democratic city. And when, if you don't believe in the ideals of small and limited government, whenever you're in a position of power, you think that's an opportunity to make a buck. And,
yeah, I mean, that really shouldn't shock anyone.
Yeah, it's just like, that has not gotten a lot of coverage, but, of course not, because all the media is based in New York and Washington, and, all the mainstream media in the country is based in New York and Washington. Even the West Coast media, their home bases are really all on the East Coast. And it's funny how this story has not picked up any steam.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, it's basically, it's detrimental to their basic agenda.
Yep. And but if you think about it, how is they're saying like guys would get tickets to plays, they would get things to fancy restaurants. I don't know how it wasn't like they were getting gold bars. I mean, they had to kind of keep it on the down low. But when you think about it, and I've gone through this, and this, look, if I'm going to say this, and a lot of people aren't going to like it, but dude, it's true. If you're listening to this right now, if you're and you've ever been arrested, or you're a criminal, or just hear me out, because there's going to be a lot of people that have never been arrested or don't know the criminal justice system who are going to hear this for the first time, and they're not going to like what I have to say. But if you're a criminal, or if you've ever been on the bad side of the criminal justice system, you will agree this is true. There are two forms of justice in this country, and while the gun licensing bribery scheme is wrong, it's not really that much different than the idea of, if you have a lot of money and you can hire the really expensive lawyer and pay, and he's $10,000 an hour, and he can grease all the right skids and shake all the right hands and get you your gun license, or get you off your charge, or get your sentence reduced, as opposed to someone who doesn't have a high-powered lawyer. You can kind of make an argument that that's not that different than a kickback scheme.
No, not really. I mean, look, there's a reason why OJ was found innocent out in California. There's also a reason why all these A-list celebrities have armed bodyguards that hang out in California and New York and all these other communist states, but they have no problem.
Yeah. I mean, you're straight solid point. I mean, it's, if you have, the fact is, I mean, this is not a popular thing to say, but I've always believed it to be true. Money makes everything better. And if you've got money, you can do stuff. Money's not good or evil, and money's not the goal in life, but having money and being able to throw it around certainly is better, if you have the option, than, doing shit the hard way.
Oh,
I mean,
money makes it a lot easier.
I mean, I pride myself on having quite a few strings to pull in the world, because of all the places I've been and things I've done and all that. But you know what? If I all of a sudden had to move to New York and live in New York City, and I wanted to get a gun, I would be hurting, because I don't know anybody. I've got no juice. I've got no jack, and I would be at a major disadvantage.
Yeah, you would.
Trying to get a gun permit in New York City. It would be almost impossible for me to get a gun permit, unless, I mean, it would cost me a lot. I would have to all of a sudden immediately, I'd have to reset all of my lawyers. I'd have to start hiring all these New York lawyers, because it becomes understood, oh, he's got this lawyer, and this lawyer so much, and this person, I know this person's always in my court. He or she charges this much an hour. They're swimming in the same school. And so it starts to open up doors if you've got the money to pay the hourly rates. And it's not that much different than a kickback scheme.
The only place on the East Coast that I would stand even a remote chance of getting a concealed carry permit would be Massachusetts. And that's because I have a little bit of connection up there that I'm going to say it would be maybe 50-50. I'm not even going to say I could. I'm saying I've got enough connections in Massachusetts to where I could maybe have a 50-50 chance of getting a concealed carry permit.
Yeah. And
that's kind of sad.
It is. I mean, it's, well, apparently you missed this one as well. There was an incident in I always want to say there's one town in Florida that always has all the crazy news stories, but this isn't it. It's I can't remember right now, but anyway, in Glen St. Mary, Florida, there was apparently a home invasion, and I don't know all the backstory on this. And look, when I set this up, you and I know this. This sounds like dope to me. I mean, it just does. I mean, it could not be. Maybe. But anyway, a guy in his house. There was a home invasion, and 7 people, I guess, went into his home for this home invasion.
Yeah.
And the guy in the house had an AR-15, and all the other guys did not. They had other guns. And the guy with the AR-15 prevailed. And a bunch of the 7 people ended up either going to the hospital or taking a dirt bath.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say because I don't know the details of the story, but what I do know is when 7 people get together to invade one home, yeah, it's usually dope.
I mean, that's unusual. Most home invasions are in the dope game, and people don't know that, but it's true.
Yeah, but home invasions that involve more than 2 or 3 people are very rare.
Oh yeah, well, home invasions are very rare, and then home invasions are rare. Almost all home invasions involve the drug trade. There's always exceptions to the rule. But, a lot of the times the exceptions to the rule for a home invasion that doesn't involve the dope trade typically would be somebody, the victim would tend to be a higher profile person, or maybe somebody who mistakenly is thought to be a higher profile person. For example, we don't know this, but the story in Florida, the Glen St. Mary victim, there could have been some rumor going around the hood that this dude had gold bricks in his basement. Now, whether it's true or not true isn't the point. Well, but they think that house has shit in it. They make a run at it.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's home invasions every day in the ghetto that don't even get reported in the news, and it's because you've got 1 or 2 meth heads or 1 or 2 heroin addicts, and they need money, and they know someone set a 982-inch TV box out for the garbage, so they kick in the door to steal their 982-inch plasma screen, whatever TV, and their Xbox. But that's just a drug addict trying to get a quick score by pawning something, and that happens every day. But usually it's in the ghetto, and the homeowner doesn't retaliate with an AR-15.
Yeah, that's, and this is something I guess that, for being targeted for a home invasion, if the dopers think you're in the dope trade, or if the dopers think you've got gold bricks in your house, or if the dopers think you have a big pile of guns. Guns on the street are more valuable than gold bricks.
Oh, gold bricks are hard to fucking move. Guns are easy.
Guns are easy. And, it would be nothing for somebody to like, oh man, that dude's got a lot of guns in his house. Let's go. We can go get a bunch of guns, and, we can take over the whole area.
At the end of the day, who's a doper going to sell a gold brick to? Seriously, I mean, he's a doper. He has no business having a gold brick. Everyone who sees him with a gold brick knows he stole it. And you can only move it to someone who's fairly reputable. But guns, dude, every crackhead on the street will buy a gun.
Mm-hmm. Yep, especially in the White Castle parking lot of the neighborhood that I won't mention. Oh, did I say that publicly? No, I did not. Hey, this reminds me, we may not be able to talk about it because you mentioned it to me earlier or late last week. Can we talk about the security guard in the ghetto incident? You want to talk about that off pod?
Yeah, I'd rather talk about that off pod.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get this text message from Freeze. He's like, dude, remind me to tell you about the crazy ass security guard. And I'm like,
the
okay.
only thing I'll say on pod is I had to tell this jackass to stand down and holster his weapon.
Okay.
And I don't want to publicly go into it any more than that, but it was just like, Jesus Christ. Here's the problem with security guards. They don't get any training whatsoever. Oh, guess what? Yeah, you don't have any felonies and you can legally buy a firearm? Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
And look.
Yeah, because,
hold on a second. Let me interject.
Let me warn you. You said you weren't going to talk about this.
No, I know, but I know a lot of guys that are security guards that are squared away, dude. Ex-cops, current cops, ex-military, and they're nice guys and they're squared away and they do a great job. But then I see more of them that, hell, I was talking to one guy I know is a security guard, and we were talking about another guy, and I said, you see, he's why everyone looks down on your profession. And the guys just shook his head and said, yeah, I know.
Yeah, because, we've had, okay, let me ask you this question, because we have to speak gingerly here. Would you say the biggest mistake a security guard would make would be the idea that if he or she unholsters his weapon and or points it at people in the ghetto, that somehow they will start to behave, or it'll solve the problem?
No. I think the biggest mistake that most of these guys make is the fact that they think they're cops and they think the people in the ghetto will respect them or fear them. And the truth is, people in the ghetto don't respect or fear cops.
Yeah.
The problem is most security guards that are squared away, that do a good job, that are actually effective in their job, have two things that they use. And this is from personal experience. I'm not a security guard, but I interact with them on a regular basis. The first thing is, the ones that are squared away have a body cam on them. And as soon as everything starts getting ugly, before they escalate it to, pepper spray and asp or a firearm, they activate the body cam. And 9 out of 10 times, as soon as the jackass on the other side realizes they're being recorded, boom, they're done. They walk away.
The bullshit stops. Yes. Cameras change everything, dude.
And the other thing is, the security guard that has the Billy Badass Mall Ninja attitude, like, fuck you, you'll do what I say, all they're doing is escalating it. But the ones that are good at their job are usually ones that can keep a level head. They can stay calm and, come on, guys, I'm just doing my job, blah, blah, blah. But they know when they have to take it up a notch, but they don't take it up a notch until the other person does. Those are the guys, in my experience, that are good at their job, whereas
they have a good EQ quote, a good emotional quotient. They can actually, because your solution doesn't normally come at the barrel of a gun or the tip of a billy club.
Well, the thing is, half these gangbangers in the ghetto aren't afraid of guns.
See, and that's what a lot of civilians don't understand. I've done this quite a few times, and you point guns at people, they don't see on TV. What happens is a gun comes out, and then the story starts to change. We've now moved to chapter 2, where we're going to set up this drama. And the reality is, on the street, you point a gun at somebody. A lot of gangbangers and people on the street, first of all, they know the rules of engagement. They know what they can and can't do to warrant getting shot. Second of all, a lot of these people have been shot before. Yeah. They know what happens, and they're not that afraid of being shot.
Yeah.
Guns don't. If your answer to solve a problem is to pull your gun out, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be stuck there with a goddamn gun out, and now you got nowhere to go but up, unless you want to put the gun away, which is going to make it worse.
Yep. Well, a good friend of mine who's a security guard, he's taser qualified, because the thing with security guards, you have to be certified for everything you carry. But and he tells me all the time, he's like, the best two things I have in my wheelhouse is my taser and my camera, because they're afraid of both of them. He said they're not afraid of my gun. He said, but they're afraid of my taser and my camera, because they can't lie on camera. They can't say, oh, he did this and he did this. No. There's no lying when you're on camera. The camera is the camera. It speaks the truth. And then he'll light your ass up with the taser before he'll pull his gun,
Oh, no one likes to ride the lightning.
No.
Dude, how many times have you heard me say this? God, I miss my taser. Dude, I used to tase people. Dude, I probably had a serious tase back when I was working at least once a month. Like a big one, like boom, not a dry stun, but like on the ground. I miss my taser. I missed the taser.
Well, anytime you feel anytime you feel up to it, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to tase you.
No. I just as a civilian walking around, because you can make an argument that you're carrying your gun, you're carrying a knife or a flashlight, you've got your lethal and your whatever, and some people make the argument that you should have a less lethal option, so you can have a use of force continuum. And a lot of people don't understand that a taser on the use of force continuum is lower than, say, pepper spray or mace, because the mace gets all over everybody. But also, just from my personal experience, if I got to a point that I needed to carry a non-lethal option, like for some reason it was mandated, like, hey, you got to have a non-lethal option. I can fight pretty well, but I'd go for a taser before I ever did mace or pepper spray.
Oh, pepper!
I love the tasers.
Yeah, go ahead and pepper spray someone inside of a house or a store or a garage or a car for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, pepper spray sucks, because here's what happens. You put pepper spray on somebody. Okay, if you don't have a lot of experience in a real world pepper spray, here's kind of how it goes. If you're a civilian, you pepper spray somebody. If everything goes perfect, they scream like a girl and they run away. Okay, let's just say that happens. It never happens that way.
No, it never happens that way.
So I know it never happens that way. Well, here's the thing. They've left, and wherever you're at, where you would probably be there because you're doing something, whether it's, eating or business or whatever, you've now nuked that entire area.
Oh, yeah.
It's now unusable. But the reality is, when you pepper spray somebody, 9 times out of 10, even if you're not a cop, it's going into a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Because if the person, so now you're hands on, and so now the pepper spray, you're in the same area or cloud, even if you're not getting it in your eyes from the spray, from the mist, the overspray, you're now rolling around in a pig pile with this son of a bitch, and it's everywhere. And this shit sucks.
It's contact, and you touch him, and or her, or whatever the case is, and you end up getting spray all to the bathroom, and then your junk burns for 2 days. And
You've never had, dude. And you've never had experience until you've had pepper spray on your hands, like a little bit residual, then you went to go to the bathroom. Oh.
Wash your hands to where you think, oh, it's good. Oh, see, I touched my cheek. I touched my face. It doesn't burn anymore. Then go take a leak.
Yeah.
It's like God came down from the clouds and said, "I'm going to burn your wiener off." It's like,
yeah. It reminds me. Hey, I sent you the video of who's the kid. The preacher that can shoot real well. He's a kid. He's a pastor. He's not that far from us. He's in Indiana, I think.
Oh yeah.
Truex.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the Hudson pistol, and he was joking about, he called it what, gonorrhea syphilis or something. I mean, that's what comes to mind when you get pepper spray on your junk.
Yeah. By the way, that video was vicious.
Oh my God. So what happened was, there's a kid. Everybody's a kid compared to us.
Yeah.
He's I think he's big on Instagram. He's like, I don't think, he may not even be 30. He seems young to me. He's a young man. He's got a young wife and a young child, and his day job, he's a preacher. But on the internet, this dude can shoot. He is Speedy Gonzalez.
Dude, man, he is good.
Yeah, there's just some people that can just shoot. They're just naturally, he's just got, fast twitch fibers or whatever. So anyway, he has picked up one of these Hudson H9 pistols. And look, I've been keeping an eye out for the Hudson H9, and I saw this video, and I was like, yep, I won't be buying this gun because I don't need any more projects in the armory.
Exactly.
So basically this gun, I think it's undersprung.
Well, according to him, it's a guide rod problem.
Oh, you know what? You're right. He did say that. They say that the guide rod, I guess it's connected to the frame.
Yeah. Well,
so it backs out.
Here's the thing. It's backing out with red Loctite. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder, like, what kind of
dude,
vibratory force is going into the frame.
Usually you have to take a torch and put heat to break the bond of red Loctite. And this thing's backing out with red Loctite. And he even mentions in the video that he thought, well, maybe I'm not doing it right. So he actually took the gun to a certified gunsmith to red Loctite the guide rod down.
Yeah, I like how he basically said, maybe I'm retarded, so I took it to a professional.
Yeah, because, it's like, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't degrease it well enough. Maybe, maybe my red Loctite was, old, or he didn't. That's basically what he was alluding to. And it was, so he's like, he spent the money, took it to a gunsmith, and had a gunsmith do it. And the problem still persists. And it's like,
200, like every 250 rounds, right? Was it like every 250 rounds?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't that many rounds.
Yeah, I don't remember how many rounds, but it wasn't a lot. It wasn't like it was, after 1,000 or 2 rounds. No, it was every couple hundred rounds he was experiencing the problem. And the thing is, at the end of the day, the Hudson is not a reliable carry gun.
Probably not. But, in their defense, it's a Gen 1. I mean, you don't want to buy the first of anything. I'm really pulling. Look, do I need a Hudson? No. Do I want a Hudson? Not really. But it's kind of one of those things. I am an American. I'm a proud American. I'm proud of the American gun community because, we have such a thriving gun community that there's enough money that it incentivizes people to invent and research and develop new things. And if you don't believe in that, look what happened to the British gun industry since they banned all their guns. They can't even make a service rifle.
Okay.
So just out of principle, I want to buy a gun from these guys just to support them.
Here's where I stand on the Hudson. Do I want a first generation Hudson with guide rod issues at $1,100? No, no way in hell. But you know what?
I think the street's in the 9s.
So what? But you know what?
Yeah, I know.
If I could buy a Hudson even with the guide rod issues, because I wouldn't carry it anyway, but you know, I'd shoot it. If it was in the $500-600 range, I'd be in the market for one. I'd buy one just because I like the gun. I think it's unique. Does it have issues? Yeah, it's got some issues. There's no doubt about that. But do I feel Hudson will work these issues out? Yeah, I have confidence that they will get this resolved. But even with that said, what the MSRP is on this gun, or even what the street price is bringing, you know, I'm so not into it at that price. I'm just not.
Yeah, I mean, you're very price sensitive anyway. It's an expensive gun.
You can say it. I'm a cheap bastard.
You're a cheap bastard. The only thing I would worry about with Hudson and this gun is just from being real here. There's only so much, you know, money in the bank account, and Hudson is got so much money tied up in all of this stuff. If they don't sell these guns, I don't think the Hudson kids, again, because everybody's younger than me, the Hudson kids come from money. So, I mean, if this gun doesn't get sorted out relatively soon, or if it gets a bad reputation financially, they could run. I mean, that business could not make it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I feel like I want to buy a gun from them.
Yeah. Well,
I will tell you this: if I do a secondhand showcase video and I run across one in a used gun case, I probably would have to buy it.
Well, I mean, again, you know, if you can find it in the used showcase and its price comparable, then I think it would be worth buying. I like the Hudson. I mean, as a platform, I do. It's kind of an odd looking gun. If you've never seen one, just go to Google and Google it. But at the end of the day, I mean, I like it. I like the whole concept of it. I think it's a neat gun, but serious, this guide rod issue is a problem. And it's something that,
yeah, I don't know if that's the only issue either. I think there may have been other problems as well.
Well,
so,
I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they're getting behind it. You know, but
yeah. Speaking of what I would buy in a secondhand showcase, I have a confession. You know, we did a video on the Cobra M11 pistol. We bought it. Did I tell you that we bought it?
I think we talked about it on the last podcast, actually, maybe.
Oh, did we? I don't think we did.
Oh, maybe.
So, yeah, I bought the M11.
Yeah.
Dumb pistol. Dumb.
Look, it's dumb as shit, but you know what? They're fun. They are so much fun to play with, but they're dumb.
Have you ever played with one?
Oh man, I've owned several of the Mac 10s over the years. I've never had a Mac 11, but I've had several of the Mac 10s. Yeah, back in the.
That's right. You had the full auto one.
I had a full auto Mac 10 back in the more friendlier gun days, and I had a semi-auto. And they are fun. They're fun guns. They're dumb. I mean, when I say dumb, it's like they're not practical. I mean, but you know, if you want to go out and burn a bunch of ammo and have fun doing it, you know, put an eye patch on, take a Sharpie, draw a cobra on your stomach.
Oh, don't start. Dude, that's awesome. Here's the thing. I've never fired one. I've never fired one. And I suspect
be like a kid
that the
candy store. You are. You're going to be like a kid in a candy store when you fire this thing. You're going to have a good time.
You know, look, one of my favorite movies is Escape from New York, and if I could do it on the cheap, because it came with that shroud. Here's the thing. Look, I listed this as a possible giveaway gun. I gave it as an option. By the way, the programmer's still working on the giveaway. Is, you know, between a Glock 20 and this M11, everybody chose the Glock 20. I tried to get people to, you know, to like take the M11 so I wouldn't buy it. And then I did a secondhand showcase video saying, here's a secondhand showcase of an M11. Here's how to contact the FFL. buy it. And it sat there for another week, and I contact the FFL. I'm like, you still got it? He goes, yeah. I go, pull it out of the case. I'll take it. He's like, okay.
You can buy faux suppressors for that thing cheap.
It came with some kind of like little one, but maybe buy a big one like from Escape from New York, and then maybe get an 07 to put a fake loophole scope on it.
It just came with a fake barrel extension that's like a ventilated barrel extension. It's not actually a rifled barrel. It's just like a tube that screws onto the end to make it look cooler. But you can buy the fake suppressors like he had it on Escape from New York. You know, it's the whole suppressor body. It's just a hollow tube that screws onto the end of the barrel. It's not actually a real suppressor. But
would you think less of me if I told you I already found them and they're $60?
Yeah, I would I would think less of you if you wouldn't spend the $60 to buy one.
I haven't bought one yet, but it's
the day
it's interesting.
Suppressor, I'm going to go out to the closest drugstore and I'm going to buy a black eye patch.
Well, the best part will be when we take a Sharpie and draw like Cobra on my stomach.
Yep.
Who the fuck thinks of that shit?
So to the younger people that have never seen Escape from New York, shame on you for not seeing the best movie ever made by John Carpenter.
Yeah. Best movie ever made.
But you should go out and see it. Don't watch Escape from LA. It was a cheap ripoff. I mean, it wasn't a rip.
Well, that's where they made all their money. You know what I mean? Like Escape from New York is like, holy shit, this was a home run. Now let's negotiate a sequel so everybody can get paid.
Yeah,
that's what Escape from LA is.
Yeah, like 30 years later or something like that. But
well, hey, I wanna switch gears here. What do you have an update? Well, let me say this. Look, we have coffee mugs. We haven't started selling them because I'm having an issue with that as well. Trying to get that up and running, and also we don't have packaging to ship them, so that's why they aren't up yet. But you and I had discussed, we've had some ceramic ones made, handmade, John 1911 coffee mugs, and they're cool, but they're like nice, fancy little cute mugs.
Yes.
But we need like big tumbler mugs for like in the truck.
Yeah.
And all I know is I am glad as hell that this all got delayed and I did not buy a bunch of Yeti tumblers.
Well, I wouldn't have let you buy Yeti anyway. I would have had you do Arctic. Because I've got a couple Arctic tumblers and I love them because they work just as good. Actually, they're the same thing as a Yeti tumbler, but the difference is they're literally half the price.
Oh, I think they're less than half the price.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So
I guess Yeti's in a pissing match with the NRA, but now some people are saying maybe the NRA has it wrong.
Well, what Yeti is doing is they're playing damage control. Yeti's saying, no, we still support the Second Amendment and we still support hunters. I like how they're covering their ass with the hunting community opposed to, the overall general gun community. We still support hunters and the Second Amendment, but what we've done is we've discontinued support of all programs, or I'm sure I don't have it all straight, but it's not just they're dropping, support of the NRA. It's they're dropping support from everyone or a bunch of people or whatnot. So they're trying to
see. I wonder, is it a possibility that maybe Yeti's actually getting, maybe their sales are down because people like Arctic are eating their lunch?
I would imagine that's probably closer to the truth, because the truth is, Yeti is amazing as their product is, and it is. Everyone's underselling them, because everyone's copying the Yeti design. Not just Arctic, a bunch of other companies are doing it. Everyone's copying their design, and yeah, basically basically that's the problem, and I of course I don't know, I'm not privy to the inside or anything, but it's hard to sell, a 45 quart cooler for $450.
Is that how big ours? How big's the cooler we bought?
It's a 45 quart.
I think we spent more than 4. I was on a pig hunting trip. I was in Texas. We shot a lot of pig. We ran out of cooler space. So we ran over to an academy to buy a cooler. And look, it's like hot in Texas in a trailer. And it's like, we have to drive this all the way back to the Midwest. And it's like, I need a big ass cooler and it's got to like last.
I think it was.
So I bought the Yeti and that killed me.
I want to think it was like
How much was it?
I think it was like $450.
It was a lot of money. And I will admit, the cooler was unreal how well.
Oh, the cooler's.
But fuck that.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the cooler is amazing and it does its job and it works as advertised, no doubt about it. But you can buy the same cooler from Arctic, and I mean, I think it's made in the same factory. You can buy.
It looks like
the exact same cooler that will do the exact same job just as well for $200. I mean, and some people would say, well, $200 is crazy. And it is. But here's the thing. Most people get along just fine with the $20 Coleman cooler because they're putting some drinks in there, they're throwing some ice in there, and it lasts for the day. But when you're out there in Texas and you've got to put meat in that cooler, and
then put it in a trailer,
and it's got to stay, you don't want to be draining water and changing ice every 10 hours.
Well, here was the thing. This was interesting because we had some Colemans and we had some other cheaper coolers.
Yes.
And we had this brand spanking new Yeti. And, we would stop and get gas and we would crack open check the coolers. And the Yeti compared to the Yeti did not need to be topped off. It still had ice in it when it got back. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was unreal. It was 4 times as good.
Well, and Yeti got its big start with fishermen because these commercial fishermen out on these boats, they have these coolers that, I mean, I don't know what size they are. I mean, the size coolers they use, Yeti advertises you can put a whole elk in them. And they're like $2,200, or they were, I mean, they were over like $2,000, but they were, these things are like 6 feet long, they're huge coolers. But commercial fishermen would put them on their boat because they'd go out there, and ice it down. And you could put fish in there and
oh, they're out all day.
Yeah.
And fishermen don't fish typically when it's like 20 degrees.
No. And well, go down to, Florida or the Caribbean or off, in the Gulf, in fish, deep sea fishing. It's hot, I mean,
yeah,
I mean, okay, I guess if you're, cod fishing in the North Atlantic, it's not, but whatever, but that's where they kind of got their start from what I understand. And the problem is, obviously, they didn't do a good enough job on their patent or whatever the case is, because everyone is copying them. Everyone.
Yeah, and because we looked at the Arctic and it looks just like the Yeti, but I saw this. It was on somebody put this on the internet. They were comparing the Yeti issue with Dick's. And they did a whole like Dick's. I'm going to offend every customer I've ever had. And then it said, Yeti, hold my beer.
No, it was hold my tumbler.
Yeah, hold my tumbler.
It's like Dick's. Let's see how fast we can lose our customers. And it's like Yeti, hold my tumbler. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, but you know what though? Again, you know, all these crazy liberals are jumping on this anti-gun thing, and all these companies, you know, especially after the Florida incident, all these companies are like, well, you know, we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll jump on it. But again, I don't think they realize that the voice of the American people, in the long run, you know, these squeaky wheels are not representing the bulk of America, and these companies that have jumped on the ban ARs, anti-Second Amendment, the NRA is a bad terrorist organization. They're learning, all these companies, that when they take that stance, they're losing their shorts.
Well, the NRA just announced that they have raised more money in the past, I don't know, whatever time frame they're using to measure it, than they have in 15 years.
Yeah. Well, there you
Thanks, go. David Hogg or Hogg or whatever his name is.
David Hogg is he should get a plaque from the NRA this year at next year's show for the biggest fundraiser.
I gotta admit, that kid bugs me.
Yeah,
I don't want to shit on him too hard, but just something about him, I got to be honest with you, like my alarm bells go off.
He's a little piece of garbage. He's a weasel.
I don't want to kick him too hard.
Don't kick him hard.
You know.
I mean, but mark my words, it may be a year from now, he's a weasel, and shit's going to come out about him of stuff he's done or stuff he's going to do that he hasn't done yet. And everyone who backed his little whatever is going to be like, David who? I'm serious. He you know, he's a weasel, and weasels always have their day.
Yeah, I just look. He's a kid that probably he wanted to be famous, and because you know, I don't want to get into why. I've looked into him a little bit, and that, you know, he's kind of prepared himself to be a public person. That's what he wanted, and so he's taken this tragedy, and I can't help but feel on some level, you know, he's kind of exploiting it, and you know, he's crossed over from being a victim is to now being a political operative, and now I now feel that I can go after him. He's no longer, you know, an untouchable kid. Like the whole John McCain argument. John McCain can get in front of the media and he can say all kinds of slanderous bullshit about anybody he fucking wants to. But then if you punch him back, he's like, whoa, I'm a war hero. No, fuck you, John McCain. And you know what? David Hogg isn't there yet, but man, he's getting close.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah. Oh, speaking of which, you had asked me this earlier, and I said I thought it was true. The kid that shot up the Waffle House in Tennessee, you asked me if he was naked.
Yeah.
My understanding is this kid, he's got problems. He was arrested at the White House by the Secret Service. He was arrested somewhere else. They took his guns away from him because they said something was wrong with him. Gave the guns to his daddy. Daddy at some point gave him his guns back. Then he went and shot up this Waffle House. And I got to be honest with you. Look, the story, actually, I was busy and stuff going on. This story happened probably 12 hours before I even realized that something had taken place at a Waffle House. And by the time I saw it, it was already being spun. It was already being spun as one of those like, oh, there was another mass shooting in a gun-free zone. And look, I'll admit this to you, and I guess I'll admit it on the podcast. I have never been in a Waffle House without a gun. I didn't know they had a no gun policy. I mean,
actually, I don't go to Waffle House as a rule. The only time I go there is when I'm on the road traveling and I stop for coffee because they have good coffee. But honestly, I didn't know they were a gun-free zone. And every time I've ever been into a Waffle House, I've had a gun on me. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, especially like, you know, you work nights. I used to work nights. I mean, Waffle House is one of the places. I mean, I
4 hours, you know, I mean, you can go there and get a good cup of coffee.
Yeah, and get some eggs or something. It's just like, I mean, I'm like, it's news to me that Waffle House is gun-free zone, and maybe it varies state to state. Maybe it varies based on like franchises, but it's like it never even occurred to me. Like seriously, like, dude, I mean, I've been in Waffle Houses. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I'm just being honest. I mean, I won't do it anymore if they're that assert about it. But dude, I have been in a Waffle House armed to the fucking teeth. Like I've been in a Waffle, like especially at night when I was working in the past, dude. I've been in a Waffle House. Like if somebody walked into a Waffle House I've been in could have been attacked by a platoon of people, and it would have been a pretty fair fight. I've been in Waffle Houses because I mean, you're working at night. You can't. I mean, it's just like Waffle Houses are gun-free zones. I'm like, oh shit, I had no idea.
Me neither.
So, yeah, I'm like, a part of me still doesn't even process that that's even possible. So the next time I find myself at 3:00 in the morning walking in a Waffle House, I'm gonna stop and look and be like, is there a sign anywhere that says no gun?
Yeah.
It's like because again, I'm gonna say I don't care. Look, dude. There are no gun signs at 3 p.m. that don't really mean the same thing at 3 a.m. you know what I'm saying?
Well,
yeah. Your no gun sign, it probably is less, a no gun sign in the middle of the day. All right. A no gun sign 3:00 in the morning. Yeah, whatever, dude.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another case of a crazy bastard. I can't believe that he tried to get onto the White House grounds. He had firearms on him, and the Secret Service let him go.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of the story on that one. I don't think he jumped the fence, and I don't think he had guns on him. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, dude, like, well, fuck me. This kid, he basically committed a mass shooting. He shot all these people in this Waffle House. He killed, I think, at least 4 people. He's in jail, but they set bail for him. Like, if you can raise the $2 million, he can get out of jail. It's like, that's only 10%.
Well, did they set it? Did they set the bail as a straight bail, or are they taking a percentage?
It wasn't a cash bond. It was my understanding was it was a percentage bail. It's a $2 million bail.
Oh, go figure.
So 10%. And it's just like, I mean, and again, it's just like another example of, I mean, I hate to be a super dick here, but we don't have a gun problem in this country. We have a mental health problem. Yeah. And the mental health problem we have is at every step of the way, nobody wants to actually go, yeah, we're done. I mean, you're even making it possible this kid could get out. It's like, why? I mean, just out of principle. I mean, look, I understand $2 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But,
how about
this kid? He's mentally ill. How about no bail?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, the Secret Service already arrested him by the White House and let him go. Took his guns away, gave his guns back to his dad. His dad unwisely gave this crazy fuck the guns back. He goes into a Waffle House and he kills a bunch of people. Why does he have bail? Why? I mean, why? Because there comes a certain point in time where you have to say, okay, this guy is a risk if he's on the streets.
Yeah, and I understand the idea of due process, and I understand the idea of innocent before guilty. You and I both know this, and we understand that you can't cruel and unreasonable standards. Okay, all right, he's got to have bail. You just can't. That's how this court works. That's the precedent in this state. That's how we do business in this county. That's fine. Okay, son, your bail's $100 million.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't. Why even fuck with this? So, and it is what. Oh. So, the guy. Okay. There was a there was some kind of attack in Canada. Was it yesterday or the day before? Somebody run a bunch of people
I
over?
think it was the day before, but
did you see what his motives apparently were?
yeah, and again, okay, this was Canada, but again, this is a mental health issue. Okay, so it's Canada.
Tell the motives.
What the hell? What did they even call themselves?
I had never look. I've only heard of this one other time, and it was in relation to another attack. And it's they call themselves Incel, INCEL.
Yeah, I had to look it up because I had never heard of it. But apparently, it's a group of guys, and actually, when I looked it up, I think it was started by a woman, but she walked away from it when all these crazy lunatic guys kind of hijacked it and took it over. But basically, it's a bunch of guys. The long and short of it is they can't get laid. So
yeah,
they hate everyone. And again, I take this back to being a mental health issue because look, if you can't get laid, I don't know what kind of mental problems you have because, dude, I know some pretty hideous guys. I mean, they're ugly on the inside and the outside that constantly get laid in a bar. I mean,
yeah. I saw this and actually it rung a bell. Like, so apparently it's this thing. So it's interesting how the internet exposes corners of the universe that maybe a lot of people aren't exposed to. And this is something I had never been exposed to. So there was an incident in California. It was a couple years ago. This kid, he was a young kid, and he actually wasn't. And again, I'm straight, so I'm not the biggest expert on this. But he didn't seem like he was an unattractive kid. He was 19, and he I remember this because he made a video right before he did this. He was like a college kid. I think he was about 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And then what he did is he started driving around one of these liberal towns in California, and he started shooting people and running his car. I think he ran a bunch of people over. And I think he maybe killed himself. And he was sitting there, he made a video.
Yeah, I think.
And he's like an Asian looking kid, or like I don't know if he was Asian looking or maybe Italian, but he had some kind of, I can't remember exactly what he was, but he seemed like a smart kid. He seemed like a decent looking kid, but he was like angry and pissed off, and he was complaining about women and how they won't date him, and he's smart and he makes money, and he talked about his 5 Series BMW, and all these women are sluts and they'll fuck all these other guys, but they won't fuck me. And literally you're watching this video and you're thinking, yeah, because you're a toxic piece of shit and there's something wrong with you. And as soon as you open your mouth, people get that gut feeling you're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
And apparently this guy in Canada who ran all these people over is in the same group.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing. Again, so it's a mass killing. Just with a truck, because in countries where you can't have guns, they use trucks. Of course, the left doesn't want to acknowledge that.
Yeah. You know what, Freeze? Why does a civilian have access to an 8-person van? The average person doesn't need that kind of cargo space.
Why does we should access to a butter knife? You don't need a knife to butter your scone or your trumpet or whatever the fuck the goddamn British eat with their tea.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I mean, look, the problem is you have all these nut jobs and no one wants to own up to what the real problem is. And I know we harp about this on just about every podcast, but I'm going to harp about it until someone actually opens their mouth and says, you know what? We need to change the rules because these crazy bastards are doing this. It's not guns. It's not trucks. It's not knives. It's not, I don't know, rocks. It's not hammers. It's, you're a fucking lunatic and there's no goddamn asylums. Hell, I ran into a lunatic the other night, who
no, really?
he was talking about the imaginary bird on his back and how don't touch him because he was covered in bird doo-doo. That's an exact quote. And his crotch was on fire because of the doo-doo. I mean, I mean, this guy was just a raving freaking lunatic who needed to be locked up.
So he was being harassed by a fire-breathing doo-doo bird.
Yeah, basically. I don't know if he breathes fire, but he was pretty goddamn vicious from what I could tell. And my point is, there's, I mean, what are you going to do? Put him in jail? I mean, jail's not going to do any good for the guy. I mean, he needs to be institutionalized. There are no institutions to put these people in. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, this guy was so far gone, he is not the guy that's going to get an AR-15 and shoot up the place. But
he's walking the streets.
But he is walking the streets. But the thing is, guys like the Parkland, Florida guy, who was a lunatic, he wasn't raving like the bird guy, but he still should have been institutionalized, and everyone, and I mean everyone, including the fucking FBI, knew it.
Well, the thing is, our current policy is that, it's dope and release until you commit a violent crime that warrants you to go into jail. Because we don't have and I said this before, this is another non-politically correct thing to say. Most of these people that are fucking batshit sideways, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, you can detect them when they're still minors.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people, they go schizophrenic in their is it the early to mid 20s or is it late 20s? But other than that, there's a lot of people, they have mental health adjustment issue problems. And that shit happens. You can see that when they're 12, when they're 14.
When little Bobby is 8 and little Bobby strangles the family kitten to death.
Yeah.
Or when little Bobby goes down into the basement to the aquarium and grabs the python that why anyone would want to have a fucking snake as a pet, I don't know. But when little Bobby goes down there and grabs the python and skins it because he didn't have anything better to do, you can pretty much guess little Bobby's got he's going to spend a few days in the joint sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime.
Yeah.
Little Bobby is not right.
Yeah. And the thing is, we used to have a situation where we would divert these kids. They would end up in group homes, or they would end up in, it wasn't in jail, but it was, more of a community control type situation. And then all these abuses started happening in the 50s and 60s. It all came out, and we blew that whole system up, and we're all paying for it today. Yeah. And, it's just another example. Hey, we've been going for a while, and I got to get into my meeting. So, I have proof that Big Brother is following us, and we should be very scared.
Okay, and go ahead.
I got into my truck this morning, turned on the truck, and I looked down at my phone, and my phone said it's 7 minutes to Dunkin' Donuts, and there's no traffic. And I'm like, how the fuck do you? It said the Dunkin' Donuts is 7 minutes away, and there's no traffic. And I've never told my phone, I've never any reason to put into my phone Dunkin' Donuts.
Well,
but I get Dunkin' Donuts in the morning.
Well,
I thought that was interesting. I think a lot of people don't realize that how the apps are tracking them on their smartphones. And I saw that and I was like, that's really interesting.
I was on Amazon the other day looking for a new GIMP mask, and an advertisement for a GIMP mask popped up on my Facebook feed, and I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
Cookies. All right. Gift mask. This wraps up episode 94 of the John1911 Podcast. If you like this kind of content, please visit our blog page, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.